Here. On behalf of all of us at Greif, welcome to the Discover Greif webinar series. My name is Cheryl Cottle, and I'm responsible for marketing and communications at Greif. I'll be assisting the presenters today. Today we'll hear from the recycling group at Greif, led by John Grinnell. Each presenter will provide a brief introduction about themselves when they first speak about their specialty. We will be recording the webinar to share with those who are unable to attend, and that will be sent out via email later today. Your account managers will also have access to the PowerPoint presentations if you're interested in those. Finally, you're going to find a chat button in the bottom of your screen where you can submit your questions at any time throughout the presentation to our panelists. We have scheduled time at the end to answer all of those. So at this time, I'll pass it over to John to get us started.
Thanks very much, Cheryl. Again, my name is John Grinnell. I'm General Manager of Greif's Recycling business. Really want to thank all of the Greif customers, the Greif vendors, and the Greif colleagues who've taken the time to join us this morning. The goal for our session really is to give you an overview of our business and particularly how we may be a resource to you in helping ensure the waste paper that's generated, whether from your plants or from the products you produce, can be a valuable raw material, can be recycled instead of ending up in the landfill. So you may ask, why is Greif in the recycling business? The reason for that is because all of the products that PPS produces start with waste paper. Our job as a business for Greif, Nancy, you can advance, thank you, is to ensure a flexible and a secure supply chain for raw material into our mill system and to the partner mills that we support. Greif's mills consume over 1.5 million tons a year of waste paper, principally OCC, but a range of other grades as well, depending on what we're making. We make 3 different types of substrates: uncoated recycled board, coated recycled board, and container board within PPS. Those products ultimately are converted into things that may be familiar to you from living at home during a lockdown or e-commerce, things like folding cartons, corrugated boxes, and things like food kit boxes, tubes and cores that are used for industrial products, and protective packaging that makes sure that goods reach their destination intact. Today, you're going to learn a little bit more from our team about how we provide these services, but ultimately what you're going to hear about is the footprint you see here on this slide. So we have first a network of 20 recycling plants around the country that source loose fiber, principally loose fiber, and process it into high density bales for use in our mills as well as other mills in the pulping process. We have the capability of brokerage and mill procurement to access fiber from high volume generators that create their own bales and deliver it efficiently to the destination mill that will consume it, the ability to manage logistics, whether locally or nationally, and the ability to provide equipment solutions that will allow waste generators to compact material, prepare it for efficient delivery to a mill. Our goal as a business is the same goal that all of the other Greif businesses have, and that is to provide legendary customer service. That's one of our 4 pillars of our build to last strategy. To do that within recycling, we want to be a one-stop shop. We want to be able to handle all of the material it generates. So while we do principally handle paper-based waste, we also handle plastics and wood scraps and other things for customers who need us to do so. We want to be a vendor you can, or we want to be a resource you can rely on in good times and bad. And if you've been close to waste paper markets for any period of time, you'll know they tend to be pretty volatile. They tend to be quite robust for a period of time and then go quite soft. We've just gone through, we're in the middle of actually one of those cycles right now. But whether the market's hot or soft, as a waste generator, you need to be sure that the waste doesn't become a problem for your facility. And that's what we're here to provide, that service. And then finally, we're here to ensure that the waste paper is actually recycled. Paper is the most recycled packaging substrate. And it is a valuable raw material, and finding the right destination. Every waste stream is unique. What it requires is unique. What it can turn into is unique. But you've got a team of experts here who can help you figure out those solutions. And the first one you're going to hear from today is Jeff Raffenberg, who is our regional sales manager in the North.
Thanks, John. Good day, everyone. The Greif Recycling operations' primary focus is on opportunities in recovered fiber. It's common for our Greif Recycling plants to handle about 15 to 16 different grades of paper. So most plants process like old corrugated containers or OCC, cores, hard white, sorted office paper, coated book, double-line kraft, and mixed paper. In addition, some of our plants handle unique grades, which we call specialty. So it's bacon board, things like tissue and toweling, and medical grade papers. Some of these grades are consumed by Greif paper mills. The tons that our mills don't use, we ship to trade mills or they're exported. Sustainability and zero waste are common terms used in business today, even at Greif, for Greif, our company, right? So Greif Recycling sales teams routinely performs waste audits at customers, including manufacturing plants, printing operations, retail sites, and distribution centers. Our primary mission, as we've stated, is to secure secondary fiber. However, companies are now bundling their waste streams to divert as much material from the landfill as possible. Therefore, we must be versed on other streams such as wood waste, plastic film, and plastic items. And these waste audits our teams perform help us to determine what materials can be recycled or even reused. Then our sales teams develop programs to collect wanted materials using things like bins, Gaylord boxes, compactor systems, van trailers, shredders, and balers. Our network of 20 recycling locations allows us to work with customers on a local level, but also on a national scale. Develop diversion program can make materials going right from the generator to the end user. However, a lot of those different streams come back to our plants to be processed into a quality and form that allows us to sell them to be recycled or reused. We collect, the material comes at us in many forms, so it could be loose, it could be baled, it could be rolled, it could, and skidded. So we have to be prepared to handle it in many ways. We have a short video showing loose cardboard being processed in Columbus, Ohio. I'm going to kind of give you a heads up on some of the stuff that we're doing. So this is, well, first of all, use a safety strap before we open any trailer. So safety is key to us. This is a loose OCC or corrugated. The way this is being processed is going to be shown to be processed. This could be office paper, this could be coated book, this could be any grade of paper. We pull it out, put it into piles. And then push it onto a feed conveyor, which is feeding the baler. So it falls into the chamber at the baler. It's being hit with a ram that can be condensed and compacted. Now the bales are being ejected. There's an auto tie there, putting about 5 to 6 wires on each bale. The bales coming out of this baler weigh about 1,400 pounds. We have some balers that put out like a 2,000 pound bale. So when the bales are ejected, they're picked up and put in, stacked in like form with corrugated. You can see the other bales in the back of other materials that they're processing there in Columbus. Then when we ship it out, it's we ship it out in like 20-ton loads. And those go to mills, can be exported all from that site. So a unique part of our business is that the material we collect is generated. That means that we can't stop collecting it when the market goes bad, like John was talking about. Like the market we're in now, we got to keep stuff moving. And also, when the market's great, we can't just go out and make more. You have to go find it. And therefore, we must be in constant contact with the Greif mill buyers to manage the ebbs and flows of the market. Mike Felker, senior mill buyer for the Riverville, Virginia mill and Massillon, Ohio mill, will explain the role of our mill buying team.
Hey, thank you, Jeff. And as Jeff mentioned, I'm part of a team that supplies the old corrugated containers, OCC, into our Riverville mill, which is actually located in Virginia, and our Massillon mill in Ohio. My goal is always to buy the highest quality recycled paper at the lowest price. My main responsibility is to assure that our mills are fully supplied with OCC. and I can assure you right now, they're very satisfied. Although I'm sometimes referred to as a garbage man by my peers, all in fun, it's our intent never to buy garbage. We have a huge impact on the financial success of our business as well as the sustainability of our mills. We have a responsibility to our mill customers and to our suppliers. And these two parties are naturally suspicious of each other. Most of our suppliers believe that their material is pristine and they want a price to match. On the other side, our mills spend a lot of energy, technology, and money in preparing our fiber. Both are viewing things from a different lens. As a buyer, we have very little control over this mistrust. And for the most part, it's generally related to market conditions. When OCC demand is high, either domestically or internationally, prices oftentimes will rise. This causes supply challenges. On the other hand, as demand dwindles, supply becomes plentiful and pricing decreases. And as John mentioned, we're experiencing that today. Once the market settles, demand and supply balances out. One of the benefits of working for Greif is that we are a fully integrated company. All our mills receive material that has been gathered, processed, and prepared from one of our internal recycling plants. We like to call that circularity. The recycling fiber group provides a security blanket in times of need. As mentioned earlier, Greif buys approximately 2 times more than what our mills consume. This provides leverage benefiting both our suppliers and mills, as it allows us to move volume during difficult times. Mill buyers from time to time receive opportunities that are not quite the right fit. It could be where the material is located, the type of material, or sometimes just a timing issue. In these instances, we turn these opportunities over to our brokerage team. Our Southeast Regional Sales Manager will describe this process, April Carlock.
Thank you, Mike. Hello, everyone. As part of being a solutions provider for our customers, we move full truckloads of material direct to the end user. We call this brokerage. These loads are typically 20 tons or 40,000 pounds. When moving these loads, we put safety first by requiring the shippers to follow our safe loading pattern when loading their material. Brokerage loads can be generated out of many types of facilities like manufacturing facilities, printers, and even other recycling facilities. These loads can be many types of fiber grades as well, including ones Jeff mentioned earlier, such as books, boxboard, as well as plastics. The product may not always be taken to a Greif facility, but our dedicated team with a combined experience of over 100 years in recycling makes Greif the right choice to move your material. Our recycling team has relationships with many end users, including plastic manufacturers, tissue and towel manufacturers, and more. The brokerage service that we provide can include spotted trailers or live loads, which Scott will discuss in more detail later in the presentation. Up next is Karen Wilson, our Manager of Specialty Development, and she's going to talk about other methods of how we provide solutions for our customers through specialty.
Thank you, April. Good day, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. I'm here today to share with you the specialty services that we provide within our recycling group. When we talk about specialty, we're referring to anything outside of the standard waste paper grades. Roll stock is the bulk of what we purchase in our specialty business, but we also purchase material in bales, sheets, and in loose form. Our specialty team purchases from paper mills, converters, warehouses, transportation groups, salvers, and insurance companies across the country. We purchase damaged, off-spec, aged, and B-grade product and rolls, sheets, bales, and material in loose form. We can handle rolls in any size, material in any condition, and any volume that is available. You can see here a variety of grades of paper we're purchasing, from container board, paperboard, pulp, printing and writing grades, and tissue towel and napkin grades. We ship our specialty products to converters and paper mills here in the US and overseas in over 30 countries. So you may ask, what makes us special? A typical waste paper plant will operate forklifts and horizontal balers to process cardboard and other standard waste paper grades. But part of what makes Greif stand apart from our competition is that many of our plants handle roll handling equipment, such as hoggers or shredders, roll guillotines, roll saws, and roll clamps. Many of our plants are also on major US rail lines, giving us direct access to work with paper mills across the country. So this specialized equipment, along with rail line accessibility, and of course, our team within the recycling group is what not only what allows us to be in the specialty business, but to be the very best in our field. Now with that, let me introduce you to our West Coast sales manager, Eddie Tolentino.
Thank you, Karen, and a virtual hello to everyone. So what is exporting? Exporting is the process by which companies from one country sell their goods and services to consumers in a different country. Meaning this is the process of selling US goods and services to the world. Now for Greif, this will include all the different specialty grades Karen just mentioned, all the typical fiber grades like cardboard, DLK, newspaper, and office paper, and at times various types of plastic. Did you know the US exported over 17 million tons of recovered fiber last year? This makes it one of the largest US exports by volume. Now, why do we export? We export because the US does such a good job recovering fiber. There's not enough domestic consumers to support all the supply. Also, other countries do not have the same recycling infrastructures we have here in the United States. As such, this creates a lack of supply in their countries and adds to the demand for US fiber abroad. We also export grades of paper not normally consumed here in the US. Export can provide a sustainable home for these grades. Examples of these grades include bacon board, poly-coated board paper, wax-covered paper, and wet strength paper. Finally, we export because for the material abroad can be very competitive. The prices for material abroad can be very competitive, excuse me. Now, one might wonder, where does the material go once the fiber leaves the US? The short answer is everywhere. US recovered fiber can go to India, Asia, Central America, South America, Europe, and the Middle East. The regular supply and fiber quality available in the US makes US recovered fiber sought after around the world. Now, once we're ready to ship the paper, how does the material get shipped out? There are various ways we can ship the secondary fiber abroad. The most common ones are through 40-foot high cube containers, rail cars, dry vans, and intermodal containers. Now, to elaborate on the different transportation resources of the recycling group, I would like to hand over the conversation to Senior Customer Service Representative Scott Blake.
Thank you, Eddie. Hello, everyone. Once it has been determined where the material will be taken, there are a few different transportation modes we may use. Flatbeds, full truckloads, rail cars, compactors, and roll-offs. Flatbeds are used for vendors that may not have a dock and need to keep the material either stored inside their facility or out in their lot. Our flatbeds are equipped with squeeze clamp forklifts, which allows our drivers to load the trailers themselves. With full truckloads, there are two types, spotted trailers and live loads. Spotted trailers are placed on site for vendors that have significant volume or the lack of storage space at their facility, and we move those as needed. Some are scheduled daily, and others may only get switched once a week or even fewer than that based on the vendor's needs. Live loads are for vendors that may take longer to accumulate the material and may also be longer distance to our mill facilities. Rail cars, as Karen mentioned earlier, gives us direct access to many mills and plants around the country. Compactors and roll-offs are generally used to transport loose material into our plants for sorting and processing. As you can see, Greif is very diverse and adaptive, which makes us the best performing customer service company in the world. Now we'll turn it back over to John Grinnell. John?
Thank you, Scott. I think we're now going to turn to a quick video to give you a picture of how the waste paper that this recycling team collects makes its way into new products.
Greif is a global industrial packaging manufacturer and a leading recycler in North America, where our paper business is a net positive recycler. We are serious about sustainability and focused on reducing the environmental impact of our products. We call it circularity. It starts with collecting fiber from previously used Greif products and other sources and ends with the production of 100% recycled paperboard products. Our recycling facilities collect and sort loose recovered fiber material, bale it, and deliver it to Greif paper mills. Collected fiber is broken down through a pulping process. Once the fibers are separated and free of contaminants, recycled paperboard is formed. We use our paperboard to make tubes and cores of various diameters. Our tubes and cores are used in a multitude of applications, including paper manufacturing, yarns and textiles, and carpet manufacturing. For example, our concrete forming tubes at major highway and bridge construction sites. Recycled linerboard is used to make corrugated sheets for us in cardboard boxes. When all these recycled products and boxes have fulfilled their original purpose, the cycle begins again with the collection of recovered fiber, completing Greif's circular paperboard economy. Generation, collection, transportation, recycling, manufacturing. It's a cycle that just makes sense to protect our future. Greif, your partner in sustainability.
Thank you, Cheryl. So that video applies to everything we do within our paper and packaging business, that circular economy. Paper, research has been published on how many times paper can be recycled. The range is somewhere from 7 to potentially more than 20 times that a packaging product can go through that cycle and be reused again. So we all hear a lot about circularity today. It's, perhaps was once a nice to have, and today for business, it truly is becoming a must-have. It's becoming a competitive landscape for so many businesses. And frankly, if you're on this call, you probably have something to do with paper packaging products, right? And that your use of paper is a potential source of competitive advantage for you. So millennials today are 3 times more likely to choose to work with a company that is a sustainability leader. 75% of millennials will change their purchasing preferences based on products that are more sustainable. More than 80% of paper packaging is recovered from the market and ends up being reused. So as we all face challenges of getting to zero waste to landfill, and we're proud our recycling business, half our facilities will achieve zero waste to landfill here in this upcoming year. It's finding the right end use for the waste material you generate is really a role that we try to play for all of our customers, all of our vendors, and our fellow Greif businesses. So it's not always easy. Different waste streams have different challenges. Things that are not compact have very heavy transportation costs. Materials that have multiple components have limited end markets. Sometimes, as we talked about, this market is very volatile. So it can go from, your waste paper can go from being a very lucrative side stream of revenue to being a cost, just like taking it into a landfill. But over the long term, the ability to recycle these products is a true advantage for paper-based packaging. And please consider Greif a resource to you as you try and find ways to do more and more of that. So that really wraps up the session today. We will, however, hang on and open it up for any questions. If you'd like to pose a question, please do so through the chat function.
Okay, I see one here that's what equipment options does Greif provide on collecting various recyclables. So we do several different options. We obviously put out balers. So you saw in the one video, the Kroger employee there using a downstroke baler. That's a common one that we put out to collect material. We also have large horizontal balers that we'll put out, but it could be something as simple as Gaylord boxes or hampers that we use, give to our customers, our vendors to collect material. And so it depends on what, the volume and everything else, but we have a full range of, balers, shredders, compactors, and things that we can provide. And sometimes the value of the material pays for itself, pays for the equipment, and sometimes there is a charge. So it just depends on the volume and what we're collecting and what we're trying to achieve.
We have a question. You mentioned plastic as a material you take. Do you deal with laminated structures? Does any of the panelists want to handle that one?
They're difficult. I mean, Eddie brought up export is an option, but we are, if we talked about this actually before we got on the call, that, what makes a product great for its application sometimes makes it very difficult to recycle. So when you start adding different things to the fiber or the paper, it makes it harder to find homes for it. So it depends. Yeah. So you mentioned bacon board in your discussion, Jeff, and that would be an example of a challenging material that there is an end market. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work to find a suitable end market for a specialty material like that. Well, we have a question on what do we expect from the OCC market here over the next several months? And this is being recorded. I'm not sure I should answer that because it'll be easy to prove me wrong. But it's been a very unpredictable and very volatile couple of years. Really since COVID came in. Right now, we've seen the decline in OCC pricing over the last 3 months is historic. The last time prices came down as far as they had, it's come down by about $100 over the last 3 months. Last time that happened was well more than 20 years ago. So going forward. And a lot of that was really driven by reductions in demand, particularly export demand. Export demand came down by about 20%. So those forces are enough to drive a substantial adjustment in the marketplace. It's hard to say when that balance will be struck, but there may be a little bit further reduction here in the next couple of months. Let's see. Karen, I have a question for you. I don't know if this is clear enough, so I'll ask it and you can let me know. Can the rolls be spec'd for composition? You see that question?
Yeah, so I'll answer it and hopefully this answers the question. What we're purchasing in our specialty business is typically off spec. When we talk about spec sheets from paper mills, that's typically for prime material. So what we're purchasing is off spec or B grade, but it all will depend on who we're purchasing from. Our primary goal is to make it as transparent as possible what's available. So what's the material made of? What's the reject reason? Could that be brightness? Could that be dirt? It could be a variety of reasons. I'm not sure if that's answering the question, but we try to be as transparent as possible with our suppliers and our customers.
We had another question on how do we help keep waste out of the landfill? So there's a variety of answers to that. Our core purpose here is to create markets for recycled material. So finding markets in the way we've just discussed around things like a bacon board application that was probably finding its way to the landfill previously is part of what we do. And we do that through the great team that we have here who know this market and know the possibilities in terms of where something might be applied. The other answers I'd give to that are one is as a waste generator, it's really important that you keep your waste clean. So keep food waste out, keep contamination out. Waste paper prices, even in the best markets, are pretty thin margin. It's a pretty thin margin business. And so when there's additional labor introduced to sort material before it goes to its final destination, that can be sort of the final straw that breaks the camel's back in terms of making recycling a cost-effective solution for materials like these. And then just for our own journey, we've been working here for about 1.5 years within our recycling plants to try to find ways to get to zero waste to landfill status. So we find individual waste streams, things like broken pallets or plastic strapping, dunnage material that finding ways first to segregate them so we can accumulate a quantity that may be marketable, and then second, getting creative in terms of looking for solutions and leveraging best practices. So for something like pallets, finding local composters or mulch producers who are willing to take those materials. Those are the little things that make a difference between getting to or not getting to zero waste to landfill. Let me see if we have any other questions here. A question on any issues with wax alternative coatings. Jeff, why don't you take that?
Well, I may defer to Eddie because I think he does a little bit more with that. Yes.
Wax alternative coatings such as green coat produced by DS Smith can cause issues with certain domestic mills and mills abroad as well. The trick is finding the correct mill that has the slow enough pulping system that can handle the material and process it. But you can find a home for these alternative coatings, whether it's here in the United States or abroad.
Thanks, Eddie. Another question we got is, does any of the product go to a landfill, or is everything recycled? For the stuff that comes into our facilities, well more than 99% of that material is ending up being recycled in some application. What's not, ultimately is probably some form of contaminant or separate packaging material, like it may have been a broken pallet that we haven't figured out solutions everywhere yet. But we expect our definition of zero waste to landfill is 0.5% or less of the material that goes through your facility ends up in a landfill, and the bulk of our facilities will be there. Are we seeing an increase of natural fibers such as hemp, bamboo, sisal? Anybody want to take that?
I've run across a few bamboo on a clean out or something like rolls, but I don't know from a mill's perspective. I don't know. I've not seen any increase. Mike, are you? No. Okay. Good question.
And for yarn April, this one's for you. For yarn tubes, do they need to be completely clean of yarn?
Yes. So the yarn is actually a contaminant for our mill because it goes through the screen process and it can stop those screens up. So having those tubes and cores completely clean of yarn is crucial for the process. And that yarn is actually has a value in a different format and stream for each company usually.
Thank you, April. We already have experience with Greif's exceptional customer service. Well, thank you. How do you measure your progress in becoming the best in customer service? So if you're a Greif vendor or customer, you may likely recently received a survey, our Net Promoter Score survey from a company called Alpha Rainbow. That's one of the ways in which we measure our progress, is to go out and seek feedback from our customers and vendors on how we're performing. So for everyone who did provide that feedback to us, we've just wrapped up that survey and are digesting our results, but we really appreciate your participation. The other thing we do within Greif in each business, we measure something called a customer service index, which is a composite index of things, basically things like OTIF, on time and full, so quality and order fulfillment accuracy and timeliness. And all of our businesses report out on that, and all of our businesses are held accountable for that. Okay, I think that's the last of the questions we have that I see. If we see any others, we will we'll try and address them with the individual questioners. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We really appreciate you putting your time to this, and we appreciate your choice of working with Greif.
Yeah, thanks, John. And I want to especially thank all of our panelists for sharing all of your knowledge, because we're very fortunate to have you guys on our Greif team. I'm going to launch a quick poll before we leave. So would you like a Greif representative to contact you? Please feel free to vote on that. We'll make sure that we get that to the appropriate account manager. And at any time, feel free to reach out to any of your account managers if you would like any additional information. While that's running, we also encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn to stay up to date on the Discover Greif webinar events, as well, and engage with us in all things paper and packaging services. So as John said, thank you for attending, and we wish everyone a wonderful day.